It's Dr. Vibe, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations. And I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner and also 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. And I also host the only broadcast in the world online that is for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Care and also co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. Also board chair of the Global Food and Drink Initiative. I'm all over the place today. Global Food and Drink Initiative. It was all the pre-show conversation, which you will never hear again. Thank goodness. So I'm going to tell you, this is going to be some kind of show tonight. So the Global Food and Drink Initiative, it is a multimedia not-for-profit that showcases Blacks in the diaspora that are doing their thing in food, wine, and travel. As always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And before I mess up anymore, let me just get Jill and Aisha on because I'm going to mess up this thing up crazy if I don't get both of them on. So there we go.
Hey.
How we doing?
Good.
Really?
I was waving. Yeah. I was trying to tell you.
I saw. Don't worry. It'll be edited out on the replay. Don't worry, the audio and the video, or maybe we'll just leave it. Who knows the way things going on. There we go. So, ladies, what is going on?
Everything.
Everything?
All the things are going on.
All the things?
Mm-hmm.
And all the things.
All the wheels are working, man.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Well, ladies, another quiet week in your country?
Quiet? No, that's unheard of.
So we'll get right into it. So let's start off with the speech that Mr. Biden made on, I believe it was Tuesday night?
Wednesday, I believe.
Was it Tuesday?
Yeah,
it was
Wednesday
evening. So Mr. Biden made a speech capping off his first 100 days. What did you think about it?
It was brilliant. It was what was needed at this time. He touched on all the points. There was no made up fantasy America. There was, I did this, I did this, I did this. I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. Here's where we are. And when he turned around and said, Madam Speaker, Madam Vice President, first to say this, it's, and it's about time. It was so powerful. And then when he talked about things that, really needed to be addressed, the insurrection, white supremacy, he obviously talked about the pandemic. He talked about, climate change. He spoke up for trans voices, especially trans youth. He talked, just about an array of things that needed to be said that had not been said in the last administration. And it was one of those things where you're like, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay.
I agree. I think that he's exactly what we need for this moment. I was mentioning how, other countries are kind of following suit with more progressive leadership, leaders that can take us another step into the future, like with Germany and its Green Party. It looks like they're ahead. And France, we're seeing some different upticks of people that normally were not, I think the people are speaking out and it's kind of resonating. President Biden, what's so fantastic is I love that he's speaking about the infrastructure because he is such a, this is not a political thing. I realize that this is something that's very dear to his heart about the infrastructure, because if we all remember, I was clearing out my Facebook posts because I'm getting flagged on stuff that wasn't against guidelines then, but now is apparently. So I was going back, and in 2014, I found the article that said, remember when, Joe Biden said that LaGuardia Airport was like a third world nation. So I started laughing to myself because He was talking about Amtrak, because it was right when Amtrak released its new electric train or whatever. And he was like, that's great, but we still need so much work on our infrastructure and what's going on. And if you can see that even our states are starting to do some amazing things, like in Ohio, I believe the first lady is scheduled to go into Ohio, or she has gone, because, even though the Republicans are wearing, double face right now, like, oh, no, I'm not in on this. But secretly, they are confronting in Ohio the poor quality of their bridges. Like a few years ago, they had a catastrophe with one of the bridges collapsing. And there's many more. There's bridges that people aren't even able to use in this country. So in Ohio, we're seeing that is a lot of progress. A lot of things are happening. And so for me, Biden is ticking all of the boxes, because we know that we've got to move forward. And, it was nice to offer an olive branch to the Republicans, but we got to leave it behind, because the most staggering thing to me was when they were talking about the reduction in child poverty. Not one Republican stood up. So for me, that sealed the deal for me, that these people are putting their party ahead of just basic needs of human beings. They don't even see us as human beings. That's what's crazy. It's like they literally see party lines, and yet they're there to suck up food and heat with this money. Because let me tell you something, all of them are going to be all up in there grubbing down with the rest of everybody else, while they were all posting on Twitter, come and get your SBA loans for the COVID relief fund, whatever, as if they did anything to move it forward when they never voted for it. So the ones who look the worst in this are the Republicans. They all look dirty, and they should all have just one term and be done. Because for me, the behavior, I don't know how much loyalty you can get from a party of their followers are just mental. But after a while, if you see people voting against your stuff and not even being big enough, grown up enough to applaud, like, oh, yes, we've reduced child poverty. They don't care about your kids. Why would you let these people have leadership positions? Like, it doesn't make any sense. These people are coming after you, but pretending that they're not. And you can even now look at their voting records and know, why should they be there? Why should they be there? I don't get it. Why are they allowed to be there? Because of some dumb Americans?
Just before we go a little bit further, just want to shout out, we did start a little bit late today, so sorry people for who are watching live. We started a little, but a lot of you are still here, so got to say, thanks up to Real Django. Thank you so much. Chris, thank you so much. Black Beauty saying, yep, President Joe's on top of it all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Real Django says, that's right, fix the damn bridges and use 45's wall to fix them. And Chris also goes, exactly, Jill. So go ahead.
Here's the other thing, is that Trump wants to deal with real issues. Okay, he wants people to have stimulus for their children for X number amount of extra months. He wants to fix.
Trump does?
I'm sorry, Biden.
Yeah.
Yes, Biden. Yes, Biden. Yes, Biden does.
We were talking about Trump in the
pre-show.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So
and New Jersey. Yes.
Yeah. But Biden wants people to have that. He wants the infrastructure. He wants safe drinking water. He wants these things. Republicans want to fight the culture wars, because that's what their voters vote on.
Mm-hmm.
Their voters are literally paying them to do nothing.
Right.
And it's like, if that's what you want, you can't complain when you get what you get.
It's true, because sorry. Go on, Dr. Vine.
I agree. I think that's a good observation. I saw also what Jill was saying. I think one of the things that Mr. Biden is going to be, his biggest enemy is time. Because the midterms are coming up,
right.
Plus he ain't getting any younger.
Right.
And at the end of the day, it's going to be the big decision for the Democrats is, do we just push ahead without him, or do we try to appease them? Because the time is not on their side, which again then makes the big power player, Mr. Munchin is the guy's name?
Manchin.
He's the power player. He's the the strongest person in that government, because he's the tipping stone.
He is. And I think that, Chuck Schumer, for me, is not the best, guy that we have running that, Senate thing. But Manchin also is just there to do damage. He's scathed. His whole reputation is totally like crap. But you're right. How do we move ahead with him? I don't know. Maybe find some dirt on him and let's just get rid of him quickly and make him resign.
Someone actually mentioned a really good idea, which was to give, what is her name? The one that they always classify with Susan Collins.
Systema?
Kirsten?
No,
is that the lady
Republican from Alaska?
Alaska. Oh, I know who you're talking about. Can't remember her name. I know who you're talking about, though. I'll find out.
Lisa Murkowski.
Yes,
there you go.
They've said that she's been really leaning at leaving the party. For the Dems to give her what she needs and bring her over, and then let Joe Manchin deal with himself.
That's a great idea, and I think that it would be great if she had the balls all the way to do it. The problem with Lisa Murkowski is there's only so long you can straddle a fence before the thing is up your what. It's like, I wish she would. She always wants. It's true. Give her what she wants.
There's something that she wants that she's not getting from either party right now. That job would be to find out what it is. And Nancy Pelosi is really good at doing that kind of thing. Finding out what that person really wants and concede to give it to them if they step over, just like the Republicans did to that one Democrat in the House.
True.
Remember, he flipped because they gave him what he wanted.
So the 100 days on a scale, are you... Okay, I got two conversations with you. So first things first, are you surprised how much the Biden administration has got done in the 100 days?
I am.
Yeah.
And I'm also going to say, when you were talking about the fact that, the elections coming up and the turnaround, the thing about Joe is he's one of those, I told you, Scorpios, don't mess with them. They will not tell you what they're doing all the way. Like, they just plod through because it's a very cardinal, sign. Like it's not cardinal, but it wants its way, and it's going to figure out a way to get it. The interesting thing is that, we had a president who had 1,900 miles to complete the border wall that he fought so hard to get, and they only completed 80 miles. So I love the fact that they also flipped some of that money that was left. Okay, 14 billion from the Army is going back into childcare, certain programs that we already had established that Trump had cut. But the biggest question comes, where did the other money go? Because you're telling me for 3.5 years it took a construction crew 3.5 years to build a wall that looks like something out of To Kill a Mockingbird or something like down in like
here
like
she goes. We were folks, we were timing to see how long it would take Jill to pull out the dagger, and she had it out before we went live, folks. Like,
Dr. Vibe, if it's a step above a picket fence, that crap can be jumped over. I used to high jump and did pretty good in school with high jumping. I'm going to tell you something. A couple of arches going back, you'd be over that thing clearing it in a second. And it took them how much money? 3.5. I'm amazed that Trump's Cracker Jack box houses are even standing.
Oh my!
What a joke. So yeah.
Even the people crossing the fences were saying they're not hard to cross.
They aren't, right?
Oh, my gosh.
It's like everybody's like, and you can see they're dropping the child over. It's
not only that, you can see through the fences and
thank you. I'm
everything.
like, yo, this stuff. Give me a pole. I can pole vault. It won't even pole vault. I could literally pace it, jump 1, 2, 3, and I'm over. Please, I had enough of that. I mean, the mishaps and the
Aisha,
just the foolery.
But the wind blew down like a section of it. That's how windy it is.
Thank you.
Wasn't it like a 30-mile stretch or 3-mile stretch of the
yes,
it
just
the
during
wind just
the hurricane,
blew away.
and it wasn't even a high level hurricane. But this stuff is built so poorly. I think the 3 pigs built better houses than the first house. The 3 little pigs.
Aisha,
you can definitely huff and puff and blow it down.
So Aisha, when I listen to the replays, this I go, where did you find this lady from? I go, where did you find this lady?
She found me. We connected.
And we are forever happy because of it. And Real Dango LMBO.
That usually in our phone calls and our texts, it's usually me making her laugh.
Yes, it's true.
Oh my goodness.
Totally. I'm processing. I'm like,
look at this. Chris, picturing Jill pole vaulting over the wall. Oh Lord.
Wait, but the pole vault is a broom.
Oh Lord.
It's right. It's a broom. It ain't even a pole.
There's even a section of you can't even call it a wall.
I know, it's true.
Of the plywood fence where they can pull away and run through in the middle of the night. It's like,
it's folks, so bad.
Folks, we're not even 20 minutes and we've gone off the rails. I'm just telling you, so let's bring it back. Yeah. So Joe Biden has made it through the 100 days. You're both impressed. What should be, as we're speaking right now live on May 1st, 2021, what do you feel should be his top 3 priority items between now and the midterms? Or 3 priority items. They don't have to be in any order, but 3 priority items.
Getting us at least 50% vaccination, at least. But definitely trying to get us to that 70% where we can have herd immunity. And if he's gotten us at 30%, at this point, in just the first 100 days, I think in a year and a half, he can get us at the 70%. If he's operating at the same speed, same pace.
Okay. And any other priorities?
I think another priority for me is to reestablish our relationships abroad.
Yeah.
I think it's really important that we have that solidarity and, things like that. And I think there just needs to be a reunion back with leaders again, the ones putting their brains together and creating more of the model, that is going forth, because we've got to get up to speed with in the G8s or 12s or whatever they got going on.
Yeah.
And everybody's got to see where everybody is at this point, because with leadership changing in certain countries, and I also think it will impact. You just create a more. It gives less for the white supremacists and the disruptors around the world to penetrate that. I think, that it's important to have that. And I also feel that he's got to make sure that Major, the dog, does not kill the cat when it comes in. That's just the other priority that I feel.
Well, they put him in school for that.
I know, I don't care. I'm still worried about that little cat. I still sit here and go, oh, please, you guys, please make sure that dog, let him eat. Let him go eat any of the Republicans, but just don't let him hurt that cat.
Oh, and one more thing. I think that he should really work hard at getting that reconciliation bill through before the end of summer.
That's true.
So we're gonna continue during the conversation here. So if you're watching this live, any comments, what do you feel, whether you're an American or not American, what should be President Biden's three priorities between now and the midterm? And if you're watching this on replay, you can certainly make comments. If you're on whatever video platform you're watching, it'll either be on YouTube, Facebook Live, or my website. If you're listening to the audio, certainly email me at dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com. Would love to get your feedback on it. And we already have an answer for your Black Beauty saying voting rights, infrastructure, and vaccines.
That's true. Yeah, voting rights is
definitely
dealing
before
with
the next
states.
election.
Yeah, dealing with the states is because that fiasco that's going on. The great thing is that they did bring in the Democrats while those ninja people are counting. Ooh, I just wish I could be one of those people
including one who was an insurrectionist.
No, Jill, I don't got the bail money for you. I don't got the bail money for you, Jill. I don't have the bail money for you. Sorry.
Let me go and sit in there. I'll be like crunching chips. What was I saying?
Oh my goodness.
Getting some mayonnaise from my sandwich. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Aisha, this is your fault. I'm blaming you. I love you, but I'm blaming you. You know that. Chris is saying vaccinations, repairing global relations, voting rights in capital letters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I think they should definitely put the voting rights stuff in the next reconciliation.
Yeah. Yes. And we all need to schmooze up to Lisa Murkowski and say, baby, you'll be loved so much more here. Just come on, cuddle. Give us a cuddle. Right?
Okay.
Well,
start treating her better than Joe Manchin. See how that goes.
Ooh. And Joni Ernst's wig.
Well, hey.
Who chooses a gray wig when their hair is really black?
I was just wanting to move on to the next subject, and then Jill did it again.
Phyllis Diller wigs.
Exactly.
My gosh.
It's crazy.
It's
that
like,
much money she makes.
But girl, your hair is not even gray. Your hair is like dark brown. Why are you choosing a gray wig on purpose?
I don't know. I think that because
it's like George Washington.
It's the creepy party.
Okay,
yeah, George Washington. Okay, all right.
No, I'm just saying. No, you ladies, go ahead. I surrender. I just let you. I should just come out of the square and just let you ladies roll tonight. You're just on fire tonight. But I'll stay. All right. Well, let's continue on. Interesting thing happened after Mr. Biden's speech. Tim Scott, senator, the only Black American senator for the National Republican Party, did the rebuttal.
Uncle Tim.
And he said that America is not a racist country, which I think was very interesting because there's a Black man, the only Black man in an all-white party, saying that there's no racism. But then what really threw me for a curveball was then now on an interview during the week, Vice President Kamala Harris saying America's not a racist country. So I'm going, here's a Republican, here's a Democrat, both Black, not saying the country's racist. Ladies, talk to me. Talk to our audience on this. Give it to us.
I think we have to take them separately. There's a difference between that, oh God, I'm trying to be nice. That Uncle Tim Scott saying there's no racism in America, then saying that he's been police profiled, but there's no racism. Right. And then going from cotton to Congress. If that wasn't just the most,
yeah.
Negro, what's wrong with you line?
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was irksome. Okay, that's not even a word, but that's how it made me feel. I mean, it just, he gave every reason as to why America's not been explained exactly how it has been for him. The only thing that was missing, like we said earlier, was the Aunt Jemima rag upon his head. It just, I mean, he was tap dancing for the gods on that response. And that was the only thing that he talked about. He didn't address anything else, mind you. And the fact that he was dragged out by the Republican Party is proof positive.
Paraded.
That racism does exist, because they asked the only Black person that they have in the House and the Senate,
right,
to speak and affirm for them, so they don't experience the white guilt that they have over the fact that racism really is a thing. Now, with Kamala Harris, this is a matter of Democrats not saying what they really want to say to keep up appearances, but she does go further to discuss the existence of systemic racism, which is one thing Republicans will say doesn't exist when asked the question about whether or not racism exists. Does systemic racism exist? You have Lindsey Graham here saying no. How the hell would he know? He doesn't experience it. You have all these other ones coming now and attacking the 1619 Project that just talks about the fact that Black people were brought here in 1619 as chattel slaves, and then experience racism upon racism through this system, only to, survive it. And it just, I think there are two different ways to see it. But Tim Scott, I was just like throwing his shoes and stuff at the PV.
Wow. Jill?
Yeah, I was like, what in the little black Sambo is going on? And as Langston Hughes would have said about that speech, he definitely put it through in the pickaninny style, didn't he?
Yeah.
It was definitely illustrated to not disturb white America's comfort with what's been happening. I think the fact that people try to diminish and use the thing like this blanket of, yes, America is, all of America is racist. Well, that, I think by even just cherry picking that to say was definitely, it was chosen, it was opted for a very clear reason, because that's really not what the argument's been about. The argument has been about systemic racism and how pervasive and insidious it has been in this country. So I think the fact that he tried to play those little games, that for me, it was a big no. And even though Kamala said what she said, which was, America is not a racist country. Well, are we speaking of the country as a person, as a thing, as a, that's just the topic, the headline. But when you go within the body of it, this is why we're all tap dancing around this topic. There is definitely a heightened sense of racism in this country that we haven't seen in years. Now, whoever wants to be brave enough to go in and unearth just how long these people have been seething with their racism and malcontent and, hatred, that's a whole other study in itself. But I'm pretty sure with technology has really exposed a lot of discrimination. It's made it so blanketed in your face, just hit you in the face, that you really cannot look away from it. I had an encounter today with somebody who was like Cherokee and talking about, you only see race, you only see this. And, and I was like, well, I'm a person of color, blah, blah, blah. I feel that, we cannot compartmentalize injustices, because I do believe that they tether and reach, and tentacles that reach into other areas. Nothing is in a silo. It's all really connected. And so the person is like, you only see it. But when the reason white people compartmentalize their racism or denial is because they sleep better when they think that way. But the minute something happens to them, like, oh, the FBI came in and knocked down, these Capitol Hill people, rioters, and their rights were violated. Well, I would give a damn if you gave a damn about what's going on in the Black community and other people of color's neighborhoods. Because when something goes wrong in our neighborhoods, albeit, we have we don't all have great people in any of the ethnicities, white, Black, yellow, green, whatever. But we get attributed to the whole batch. Oh, well, they deserve it. And that's wrong. That's wrong. So for me, that's why I'm not going to really give it too much play with Tim, because Tim has to live with his white wife and he has to give her what she wants. So he'll say just about anything to be, because, I know men like Tim Scott. I know them from politics and just in life. And it was a disgrace. It was a disgrace what he said and how he tried to qualify it, because the reality is we have a problem and it affects many people. And the denial on that is disgusting. And I don't know how he sleeps.
Before you go to the comments, Dr. Ibe, an observation that I've made that I've noticed that continuously happens is the white people that get upset when you say America is racist and you're talking specifically about systemic racism are the people who see the word America, and when you say America, as them individually being America. That America is an individual and they are that individual. And so when you say America is racist, they take it as a personal attack on them. That you're saying that they, as an individual, are racist, not that the country has systemic racism. And that's not what's being said at all. And the thing, I always was told that a hit dog hollers. So if you feel like you are being personally attacked when people say this about the country, not you as an individual, but if you feel like you are being personally attacked, then maybe you need to re-examine how you view race.
Well, it's true, because people don't even want to address the fact with that how deep these microaggressions go. Even when there are people in HR who receive resumes with people who they think are Black immediately, those are forms of discrimination. That is why HR departments should be artificial intelligence driven and not based upon human beings determining a situation. It's got to be very like, oh, well, Shaniqua can't have it, because we've seen those kind of situations. We've seen people go for jobs in this country. We see that the pay, there's a difference in pay structures. So, and then now it's so, because we ignored all of those little microaggressions, here we are watching people get murdered on camera, and they want to quantify and qualify it, which I keep saying, how can you live with yourself? Like that Cherokee guy, I said, you don't get off so easily, because the Cherokee Nation enslaved how many African Americans? And you just 2 months ago gave them, had to acknowledge their heirs because you were so greedy and didn't want them to have anything to do with getting benefits from your land, your share. I mean, America has created this is my pie, this is my pie, this is my pie. I don't know how a nation, when I think of nation, I do not think of people going, give me this is mine, this is mine. I think of a pie and everybody gets a piece of it. That's just my thinking, but that's just me.
Let me just talk, because a pile of comments have come in expectedly from this conversation. So first up, Real Django saying, I've been very disappointed in the Republican Party since 1997 when I was on my last leg as a registered Republican. These politicians must be in on racism since they protested so much. He also says, it's so obvious to so many people, but Uncle Tim has the audacity to proclaim that there's no racism, question mark. He says, it's repulsive. Chris is saying, right on the money, Aisha. Black Beauty, the ladies are definitely spot on in addressing these truths in capital letters and the OK sign.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So let me ask both of you then, is America a racist country? And also, if you're watching live or watching on the replay, is America a racist country?
If you saw what we saw on January 6th, and you can still say that America is not a racist country, then something is seriously wrong with you.
I think that when we start to think of the body of people here, that we have a couple of moving parts that are accelerating quite quickly. You know, people have a lot of fear about their futures. And I, for the most part, believe that the country, on the premise of what our country is supposed to be, we're not living up to that. And the country tries to not adhere to these racist attitudes. But when you see January 6th, like she said, you have a group of people that want to adhere to cancel out all the progress we've made, even with our new legislation. It's like Christians who want to live in the book of freaking Leviticus. You know, it's like, then I don't know why they've even got electric and running water and toilets. I mean, these people don't even understand that, no, our founding fathers didn't anticipate a lot of the things that have come along the way. But they thought people would use their common sense. Hell, they didn't even know that they would have a toilet inside the White House. These dudes were going to an outhouse. So, you know, it's called evolving, modifying, and really taking in what they did have and what they did possess. We've always focused was a modicum of trying to aspire and to being better. However, they slipped a little because they hadn't elevated as human beings to even recognize other cultures, other creeds, other color skin. So we need to move on from that and just know that, wow, it's too bad they weren't that way, but we don't have to be that way. We have seen that people aspire in this country now to aspire backwards, to aspire to old days. Well, if you want to do that, then you better get your little pioneer outfits on, and you better get a musket, get rid of your A51s or whatever they're called. A15s. And live that pioneer life, because you cannot straddle the fence without it going up your you-know-who. Yep. So my whole point is that is it racist? Not from the amount of immigrants that we have, that unfortunately it can flip them into it too, because it becomes a barrel full of crabs. That's the problem with the country, is turned into that mentality, crabs in a barrel, and people shooting at you. That's the thing. And they're shooting at the black and brown ones.
Yeah. And you know what? I'll add this, that the fraction of the country that is racist, the fraction of America that is racist, are the ones who don't like the fact that the country is not going to be the majority then in the next few years. That's what their problem is that they have this majority, and they have this fear, this overwhelming fear that they will never admit to in public out loud. But if you ask them individually and they hate you enough, they'll tell you that fear is that we will treat them the way that they've all treated us. So tell me, is America racist or not? Because if it isn't, then those people would have nothing to fear. At least those people would have nothing to, if it wasn't, they would have nothing to fear. They know that it is. At least those people know that it is, the ones who are afraid. But the other part too is that when we get to talking about the country as a whole being racist, it's like Jill said, our Constitution is not a perfect document. It did not predict this future. It did not predict this demographic makeup that we're really walking into. It did not predict the number of biracial people, mixed race people that would come out of just all kinds of combinations of people procreating. And so there were people who weren't prepared for that. And I think those people have continued to further the idea of racism.
But you're absolutely right.
Racism.
What I want to point out is what you're specifically addressing is that's how you see how genocide is fomented. This is where it comes from. I have an amazing book on genocide, even what happened in Rwanda with the two different tribes that were essentially the same, and how the media and the governments and all these, people play into it. But we also saw that with the Jewish people in Germany, and we've seen ethnic cleansing with Milosevic in Croatia, Bosnia, Serbia. We've seen it. It always happens because people, and also with the Uyghurs in China. The thing is, people in power do not want change because they don't want to lose their power. And when you have a different mindset coming along, because for the most part, people can get along with each other. I do believe that without the additives of hate. I've seen poor, broke people all near the Appalachian districts, all getting along because they're all poor. They're all broke as you know what. But what happens is it's the hierarchy again. And these people, because of she's saying their fear of, a brown planet or whatever they think is going to happen, they foment hate. And it ultimately, if you allow it, it will result in a genocide. There's just no other way. It will not, if we don't deal with it now, then our children will deal with it. And some people's children will be caught up in it and may not survive it. So we, as the adults in the room, have to continue to fight this.
Okay, yeah. I will just break. As usual, comments are flying. Chris is saying, absolutely, this is a racist country. Chris does live in America. Black Beauty saying, unfortunately, America is definitely the epitome of what a racist country is. Real Django, all I know right now is I have to get out of the South. I mean, it's not 1945 bad, but the 1945 mentality lurks around. True Aisha, but 200 plus years later, and we still in the throes of white supremacy. Check your watches, people. And then Christina says, Real Django, that is so true. Aisha, interesting statement you made that the Constitution is not a perfect document. Some people would say that it's perfect for the people who made it, who look like the people who made it.
Well, you know what? It's not even perfect for them because it's outdated. When you sit and think if you ever sit and read our Constitution, you'll be like, oh my gosh, they kind of need to amend this. Why isn't anybody trying to amend this? Because this legitimately no longer applies now for anybody.
Right.
Okay. These are people who are still eating porridge for breakfast on a daily because that's all there was. These are people who gave oranges for presents at Christmas. These are
people who ate flesh of a dog or used to take chickens and put the chicken on a wound because if they thought somebody had been bitten by a bat or had rabies. This is how they cured things. So do we go back to that? This is a country that one of its heinous crimes was burning people thinking they were witches. How crazy is that? That is absolute madness.
Or
they actually
people from a tree.
hung people from a tree. So it's always been violent. We can't just discount that. So what it has, steeped itself in, you can't steep your tea in poo-poo and expect it to taste like, chamomile. It's not. This is what we get.
Yeah, and it's like, think about this. You think about things in our country that are so normal for us, and things that we do that are like mainstream. When people say, oh, you sold me down the river, don't realize that's slavery talk. That's talk about being sold down the river to Mississippi that had the worst plantations in the country. True. You talk about people like, oh, I'm going on a picnic, not knowing where the origin of the word picnic comes from, which meant to pick a Black person to go lynch and bring all your friends, your family, your countrymen out to sit and watch with food.
And kill them. And then they would eat and barbecue. That's what that was. Picnic.
And some people would use the N-word with that.
That's true.
You're being kind.
I know.
So a lot of our traditions are steeped in this history that is rooted in our Constitution, which is a flawed document. Not to say that we shouldn't have one, just to say that it's flawed, it's imperfect, and a lot of it needs to be amended. And guess what? Hey, that's cool. Why shouldn't we revisit the well-armed militia part of the Second Amendment?
Yes, exactly. It's pathetic.
Like, for people to be like, oh, they're taking this literally. Well, if we're going to take it literally, then then we need to reevaluate our gun laws. Because
or give them muskets.
Exactly. If you want to be a well-armed militia, then
bring the musket back.
Look, either we need to do away with the police who shoot people, or we need to bring back antiquated firearms.
That's what I agree with you.
Or we need to just update and amend our gun laws. Which is it?
Right.
All right. Well, let's catch up on some more comments. As usual, they're flying in. Real Django says, New York loves me because all the critics love me in New York. I know that play. I love that. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Chris is saying, we were taught to fear the witches, yet not to fear those who burn them. That is messed up.
I know. It is.
And then Real Django says the Constitution should be considered as a living document. It has to be changed as times change. The Declaration of Independence, etc., etc.
Bill of Rights, all of it.
That's very true. It is a living document, and it does. I mean, it's like they, are just feeding it the same old.
It's been amended for other things. It's like it was finally amended so that we were recognized as citizens and not 3/5 of a person. So why can't we amend it and keep it going for other things as they change? Like this insurrection in January, there should be a constitutional amendment somewhere coming, because I know they violated something in the Constitution.
Absolutely.
So Black Beauty is saying, thank you, ladies, for exposing the bare bones and ugliness of America.
Yep.
There we go.
Easy to do. It's easy to do when when the vultures are out, because America is a carcass in many, many ways right now.
And let's not forget, 75 million people voted for a racist.
They did.
All right.
And they voted for a war to fund through their guns and all their stuff to harm people in Yemen right now. Just thinking about them, and that's just rough. Really, really rough.
Well, let's move it on to our next conversation piece. And if you're live watching us, keep the conversations flowing. Ladies, love it. We love it. We love it. We love it. Next up, talking about interesting situations. North Carolina judge rules Andrew Brown footage will not be released. So this is unfortunately another shooting of a Black male. And the ladies will give some background on it. But I don't know. I found this very strange that footage will not be released for 1 month. Like not even the victim's family. What were you saying, Jill? Can only see like 20 seconds or a minute of this, of the police
Aisha.
camera stuff?
Yeah, Aisha, they said the family only saw 20 seconds of it, but within the next 10 days or so, they'll be able to see more footage. But the judge has ruled that it won't be made public. In North Carolina, there's a state law in North Carolina, in these Tim Scott United States, where racism doesn't exist, that they aren't automatically made public. Okay?
Yeah.
So a judge has to decide on that. And the judge has decided no. So it has to be really bad if the judge is not going to allow that, because they have evidence in other cases that the judges have, opened this footage up. But what the family found in an independent autopsy was that he was shot 3 times in the arm, twice in the back of the head.
What was his warrant for, Aisha?
And
I'm unclear.
If I'm not mistaken, I think it was like I can't remember. I'm getting cases confused because there's so many of them coming. It's like every week, and there's always a warrant or something that they have. But he had his hands on the steering wheel, and so
drug dealer. I think they're saying
that's probably what they're alleging, but the family has not had any evidence that the warrant was open or anything like that either. That's another thing that they're complaining about, is that they're getting minimal information, that the police aren't talking, and they're not talking to the lawyers either.
Well, the real Django is saying the fix is in edited video.
Yeah, the video only showed them,
good point,
like basically driving past, the family said, and what they saw was an execution.
Right. They said that he was they're claiming he had the intent to sell cocaine. I mean, let's just put it this way. They didn't even do this to, who was that dude from Mexico that they got? The one that
Chapo.
they had to, I mean, for real.
And I'm like, out of jail, okay?
I'm like, okay, so how wild is that? Like this, it seems like in some of these places, these backwoods towns, Minneapolis included in that backwoods comment, that it's such a there's something personal from the streets that happens because that they're doing. I mean, I saw in the video the amount of cops that were going to do this. I mean, come on. I mean, wouldn't you really want to get a career drug person to find out where they're getting the drugs, how they're bringing them into the country? How can we stop this? Why was he the big fish? Why was he the big kahuna? I mean, even if I watch a TV show, they don't even want, I mean, it was TV, but for real, like, are you kidding me? Because that's a whole world. Like, was he dealing fentanyl? Was he doing, well, what are we doing here? You're going to just like, do what?
Right.
Where's the connection? Do you know who he was buying them from? Because he certainly wasn't making it. So all that, and a town that's dropping dead all the time with people, white people in these southern towns have been hit the hardest from this drug thing with fentanyl. I'm sorry, for the most part. So, but why would you take him out like that?
So, Cinema Canela, one of the lawyers for Mr. Brown is Benjamin Crump, the gentleman you see all the time, and he has two of their lawyers, Andrew Brown Jr. and Wendell Canal. But Benjamin Crump is part of that team. Just answering that question, Black Beauty is saying, modern day Mississippi burning. Our country's never going to get rid of this vile system. Too many racists at the top love it. Simon Canella saying El Chapo got the royal treatment.
Essentially, yeah.
So
El Chapo keeps getting away.
Yeah.
and it's like you would think that if this was like the big drug warrant,
right?
He would have tried to escape. He didn't. He put his hands on the wheel, like they told him, and complied. And his lawyers have said that.
Mm-hmm.
So this is sad story. Another sad story. Like,
yeah, And the sad part about it, the saddest part, is that we know next week there will be another one. And we'll be right back here talking about that.
Next week, let's try to get through the weekend. You know?
Look at this. Simon Cannell, El Chapo wife is living in luxury still. Probably.
Actually, they just arrested her.
She's kidding.
Out here, San Diego.
Black Beauty.
Or somewhere at the border.
Black Beauty is saying our politics to include judicial system, housing, employment, education, hell, even religion. Christina says, and folks, loving this live stuff. Ladies love it. It also gives them a break and also gives them some laughter. The U.S. has been working with El Chapo for years before he decided to take too large of a cut. U.S.'s dirty secret.
Whoa.
That is interesting.
Very interesting.
That is a very, very interesting. I'll have to maybe do some research on that to see what's going on, because that would not be a surprise.
Yeah, exactly. Why would it surprise us? Because we have to really take a look at who our leaders are. They have no scruples and no morals. So it wouldn't surprise me if that were the case. I mean, look, but look how they got rid of Epstein. You know what I mean? It's like,
think about how the drug game was in the 80s and 90s and how they were flooding the black and brown communities. Remember?
Real Django saying, I miss San Diego in the 70s, Jill.
Yeah. Yeah, Panama. That's what Cinnamon just said.
And then Cinnamon Canal saying, Christina, you got it. Remember Panama.
Yes.
Wow, this audience, you are on fire tonight. I'm telling you, you are on fire. You helped make this an epic conversation. It's good stuff. So, where our next conversation topic is one of Jill's and Aisha's all-time favorite individuals, supposedly one of the great mayors of all time of New York City.
Boy, get out of here.
Rudy Giuliani's apartment raided by federal investigators. What's wrong, Jill?
I don't know. He probably thought he was going to be filming for Hoarders. I can only imagine what his damn house looked like. I just get this vibe. Newspapers piled up. They were probably up there like, oh my God, what the hell is this? And he probably was like, are you filming for Hoarders?
Wow. Oh my God.
I imagine when they raided his apartment that he came to the door in like a dirty t-shirt, one of those V-neck t-shirts and boxer short striped ones with the socks that have the thing around them to keep him held up.
Yes.
And just the dye dripping down the side of his face.
Yeah.
That's how I imagine him coming to the door.
Yeah, he's in a tank top. Yeah, exactly. He's that guy. He totally looks like, because then when he came out, he had on those rust red shoes. And it's like, I'm telling you, there are signals that these old people are doing with their red ties and their certain choices of outfits. It has to be a flag to each other.
And his pants up to his nipples.
Yeah, I know. It's true. He's got that old man gap that starts to happen.
Yeah,
he's that guy, right? Where the pants just never fit. But they raided,
probably smells like graveyard dust.
And he basically keeps saying that he has, he was trying to paint this picture of what was written on the warrant when they came through. And from what Daniel Goldberg said, it wouldn't be written. That would be the first time. Like, he's like, well, they came in and talked about, Ukraine. And then he's like, I tried to give him Hunter Biden's, laptop. He don't have it. I'm sorry. The man is a liar. It's more than enough time that they deal with it and finish him off. And even his own buddy, Trump, said something bizarre, which was, well, Rudy, he does things, but he's a patriot. Like, if that's not like, Like basically saying, yeah, I know he gets a little ahead of himself and he goes and tries to think he's going to change the world because he's a patriot. Yeah, he probably did meet with the Russians, but he does things and he didn't mean it. This is what so that's the angle. But if I was Giuliani, I'd be like, yo, what'd you say? Because why was this guy flying kites for Trump? What is the deal? I mean, talk about going down in flames.
See, Rudy, this shows you just how bad of a lawyer he is.
Bad.
Because first of all, he knows what a search warrant looks like and what information it's going to have and what it's not going to have. So for him to go out and lie about it as a lawyer tells all the other lawyers in America he's just a bad lawyer. First of all,
he's no Matlock, and he's certainly no Perry Mason.
Right.
You know,
second of all, a good lawyer would tell you when the feds or any other kind of law enforcement raids your house, the first thing you should do is be quiet. He's out here talking every chance he could get about how he's not guilty of this and that. How do you know what they're even looking for?
I agree. It's really bad. Like, and he knew they were coming. Like they basically told him for a long time. They knew that that the tides had changed since William Barr wasn't there. And if you follow Lev Parnas, who I watch him, and he's funny actually, you know, and I actually like that at the top of his Twitter feed, he's like says under indictment. You know, but I know he has known Trump since he was 18, because remember, he kind of got pulled into this as a child by working with Fred Trump. That's where his sad kind of life went into. And, you know, he knows all the goodies. But I think Lev and his brother Aaron Parnas, they've all, believe me, the pieces of this stuff are only just starting to find themselves. And Rudy is going to be like Algernon in a maze, trying to recapture and figure out all the lies that he's pulled. Because Trump basically is like, yeah, Rudy does things. Yeah, he does things, but he's a good patriot. Whoa.
And see, what Giuliani is forgetting is that this is no longer the Trump administration or the Trump DOJ, which does all of its work based on public opinion and not the actual law. So Rudy is trying to win public opinion when the DOJ has his ass on actual crimes.
Well, yeah, because they already knew the Ukraine stuff. The real question is, what came along subsequently that made them get the warrant and go after one of their friends' phones down in Florida? They took her phone. So what new info came through? Because something did. And you know, that's just the way it looks like he's in a sling.
Yeah.
He's in a sling.
When the feds usually go after you like that, you broke a law.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's take a quick break. Real Django saying, "Oh Lord, Rudy, he's a lunatic. Black Beauty. Couldn't have happened to a more deserving creep other than Giuliani." Real Django, ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
And Chris saying, "Oh man, Giuliani running around looking like Simon Bar Sinister from Under."
Yes, that's brilliant.
The man is just a major mess. He was supposed to have a major announcement late today from when Hawken, New Jersey, of all places, was that announcement made?
We're talking about New Jersey. See,
that is so funny because here's the interesting thing. Maybe he'll have it in front of a, I don't know, utility department today. I don't know.
Yes.
He did say he had a big announcement. And that's the thing. I said to my husband, "Oh, Rudy's always up. I'm going to have something for you later."
Listen, he's in New Jersey. Trump is moving his stuff to New Jersey.
Yes, you were mentioning that before we went live.
We were mentioning that before we went live. Something's going on in New Jersey. We got to keep an eye on that.
Well, we're going to have to talk to brother in Newark
Corey.
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk to Brother Booker and be like, yo, what is up? Because there's a lot of them who they say are gonna move there. But remember, Mar-a-Lago, Trump could not live there. They didn't want him there, but there was something about that building. And a lot of people have rumors that they said Putin really owns the building. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's the truth.
Trump does have a what do you call it in New Jersey?
Golf course.
A golf course in Jersey.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
And it's closer to New York City without him having to be in New York.
Yeah.
Oh, but when Django just said Rudy was a star in New York City, but he fell off. Here's an interesting thing. Mark Daly, or some last name Daly from the Daily Beast, wrote an article, was on Chris Wallace the other day, speaking about how Rudy, in fact, was downtown, and we were ready to be done with Rudy in New York. And that's kind of true, that he really was only down there to try to go to his headquarters during 9/11. But of course it was in building 7, and then that fell. And then he had to go and work out of a fire department somewhere. And how Rudy could literally walk down the street and nobody really cared about Rudy. In fact, a lot of, it was just, there was a serious branding that went on for Rudy, and he lapped it up. He lapped it up like a dog.
America's greatest mayor. America's greatest mayor.
He did that because he had been branded as a racist before then.
Yes,
because he ran that racist.
And the stop and frisking was
he did the stop and frisk,
not Bloomberg.
And he ran that racist campaign against David Dinkins.
Yes, he did. He always was. So, it's so interesting. I was reading a book the other day about Eliot Ness, who was responsible for the prohibition with Al Capone. And he had this interesting statement in this article, or his quotes, which was, it was always difficult for him to try this case for with Al Capone breaking a law for prohibition that the people did not like. They basically saying the people they wanted to have their liquor. He knew it was an unpopular thing that he was doing, because essentially he was shutting down something, and it's very much that's happened here. Trump is that guy that when you take him down, it really exposes how much people did support his belief system. And that's why America's racist. And that's why it's kind of corrupt. And that's all of it, the sum total, because when our people in these justice decisions, like in the feds and the FBI and CIA and whatever, they have a commitment to, you have to have some kind of moral high ground to get you through the day for what you're doing, because these are unpopular choices. So going after Rudy, there he is, no different than Al Capone being like, why is everybody after me? I brought you booze. I brought you this. And this is the game plan. This is the same thing, which made me reflect a lot differently about the justice that Americans want. You see, the justice. They don't really want it if it benefits them. The corruption benefits them. They're okay looking the other way.
So Cinema Canella is saying, have you guys noticed how silent the 45 family is? And so again, you were mentioning
of course, they're not going to say anything when they're already under investigation anyway.
Well, and again, before we went live, there's actually a story in Vanity Fair. Reporter did a column saying that Giuliani may rat on the 45 family. If I don't know if I can see that happening.
I can, because as old as he is, I don't think he's going to want to spend the last, 8, 9, 10 years he has left in prison.
Yeah, but he must still think that 45 may get back in, and he may want that 45 will bring him back on the payroll again. If not, he's already on the payroll because he is his lawyer.
Right, but if he's gonna be faced with a choice: go to prison or give us something better.
Well, but the thing
is, prison.
It does go back again to what Jill is saying. will this actually go to the next step? Like,
Right.
are
He
they
could drag it
going
out
to
for
go
years.
to trial? Right? Like an apartment raid is great, but I know that what Jill wants is them put on trial, and again, that time factor again, because if it isn't done before the midterms next year, it ain't gonna happen.
Right.
But see, this is the thing. He's not gonna. There's never gonna be a trial. What they're gonna do is go to him and his attorney and try and work out a deal. A deal's gonna come before a trial would.
But he won't do it, because I feel that for him, it's actually beyond money. It's beyond women. It's beyond fame. It's not
ego.
Beyond fame. It's ego.
Yeah.
And I just think that his ego, he'd rather stall with legal, and spend every dime defending than to rat them out. Because if he turns, and the Trump people will turn on him, he can't die that way. He has to go down like, I'm going down with the ship. It's ego. And I don't think he'll flip on him. And I think a lot of those old codgers are like that. They know their days are numbered on this planet. But
the other part is that he knows what they took. That's the big missing chunk. He knows what the feds took.
He knows.
This is a classic, ladies. This is why we got to get Chris on the show. Giuliani come back, dear Lord. He is already older than a Price is Right model right now. Chris, when are you coming on the show? Like,
oh my God, that was so true. Classic. Oh my God.
Hell, Giuliani was there when they signed the first Constitution.
I know, right?
We were talking about that earlier.
And
he was a flea, because he was a flea that got reincarnated later, but he was there as a flea
reincarnated.
Yeah, he reinvents himself.
He was a flea in George Washington and them's wigs.
I don't think you elevate. That's brilliant, girl.
Now I was blaming you, Jill, but no, I think it's Aisha. It's Aisha.
Basically, Miss Goody Two Shoes.
Yeah, you know what? I know one. You know what? We should put it on Patreon. The conversations you don't get to hear live between Jill and Aisha. That's so well on Patreon. We gotta think about that. All right, and we're ending our conversation as usual with this episode's cockroach. And the ladies are unanimous about another one of their favorite ladies, especially one of Aisha's favorite ladies, Nikki Haley. And Jill's going, oh boy, my girl's gonna bring it on. So Aisha, I had not heard you mention this lady's name for a few weeks, and now you're coming back with fur. Why Nikki Haley cockroach?
Nimrata has the nerve. Nimrata Rampawa Haley had the nerve to come about her mouth to say that Democrats are pushing this whole thing about racism existing in America, et cetera, et cetera. Now, if racism didn't exist, she would go by Nimrata instead of Nikki.
You.
Right?
Yeah.
Somebody got mad at me because I said she passes for a living. However, I stand by that statement.
Jill, I'm forgiving you. You know that, Jill.
Yes, I know.
Thank you.
I stand by that.
And your girlfriend just not listening. She thinks it's going in when you're not. I got you. I got you. Staggers, I got you. You keep on going. Go on now.
I stand by that statement because anyone who writes on their voter ID registration card that they are white and they need that card for basically they're a politician. That's what they do. Obviously, you'd have a voter registration card that's passing for white.
Right.
Passing.
Yeah, she has done that. And, she and Dinesh D'Souza or whatever he is too, he's another self-loathing Indian.
Mm-hmm. And I remember back in South Carolina, because you guys remember, I used to work for a legislative commission in South Carolina when she was in the legislature. So back in South Carolina, this is after I left the commission, but she was running for governor. One member of her party, former Senator Jake Knotts, called her a raghead and said, I quote, "We already have a raghead in the White House. We don't need another one in the governor's mansion."
Yo, really?
But racism doesn't exist.
Right. Yeah. Right. See, she's a cockroach because this is their glossing, and it is very interesting how they're picking the few minorities that they have. I mean,
And
who
trotting them
else
out.
is next? Which one's next? I mean, let's be honest, like who's next? Who's next? Because they don't have anybody else. Tim's like the only black one. I mean, in the Senate. Come on.
They got one Latino, and that's it. And you would think Nikki Haley would have learned from Bobby Jindal. Remember what happened to him?
Yes.
They swallowed him whole.
They did.
You don't even hear his name.
No. And that was another thing. When I was going back in my Facebook stuff, there were so many politicians I was like flipping out on that don't even exist anymore. So there's that gave me some, comfort in knowing, wow, a lot of these people are really huffing and puffing because they are on their last legs politically. Politically, they are.
This lady will never be president.
No, she blew it. She blew it when they let Trump go in. She's going to be the Hillary Clinton moment, and the Warren moment. When Elizabeth Warren's moment was that time Hillary ran. That was her moment to actually do it. People were ready and primed. But it's done. It was done. It was done because you can't come back from that. And Nikki Haley coming back at one hand saying, I don't agree with Trump. And now all of a sudden she comes back. That's not the female leader that we want. You don't want somebody who's just going to bend over at every turn. And Nikki has proven that she will bend and say, how far you want me to go? That is not leadership. That isn't even anybody I respect.
Right. If you are a person of color and you have to denigrate yourself to the point that the only people you are relying upon voting for you are the racists, then something's wrong with you.
No, she played her cards all wrong, and now we have to suffer through her and her nonsense. And they brought their tokens out and started waving them in front of everybody. That's all this was. If you notice, only the tokens were saying this craziness. Yep. Crazy.
Tim Scott and Nimrata
Nimrata. Just crazy. Yeah. And what Aisha is saying about her name and hiding it and changing it, she's not alone in this. There were so many people on Twitter confronting that issue with her. It's an issue she refuses to address. It really is. It's like,
and the fact that her father still gets harassed when he walks with his turban in Bamberg, South Carolina. She didn't want to talk about her sister. I can't pronounce her sister's name, but her sister wrote about them being targeted and evicted constantly for being a brown family. So Nikki. Nimrata.
She doesn't want to relate to people. She blew it because she did all the right things that she thought she was doing. But she's sterile. She's cold. We saw how she performed in the ambassador role that she had. She was very ineffective. There was nothing human. It was robotic. She just really should make her money. And I hope she bought like some, little property. They all do.
When I look at Nikki Haley,
her family are multimillionaires from their clothing business that they started from the ground up in their living room. When Nikki was busy doing their bookkeeping when she was 12. Nikki is part of a white family now because she's got her husband
married into it.
Her husband who is white, and her children who are white looking. Right. And here's the other part of it. Her in-laws obviously accept her, but do you think they accept you more, Nimrata, because you are a successful politician, or at least were, or because of who you were?
It's funny, all the women that I've known, and like what I loved about England, with women from India and very different Asian areas, and the multicultural, vibe in certain parts in England. People were not running to change their names. And I think in Canada as well, that is not a typical thing here. People here will mispronounce your name over and over. It is rude. It is wrong. It's why people name their kids, names like Kathy and really simple names, because they just want them to, when now everybody is Taylor, or they're going to be Luna, or they're going to be this or that. These were things because people here are really rude. They shorten your name at leisure. If your name is Josephine, people are going to call you Joe. And there is a certain thing of like having to assimilate and make everybody else feel comfortable and make it always easy. And that's wrong. That's a form of being a bigot, that when you start bending over backwards and allowing it, it's wrong. It's just plain out wrong. Yeah, I've known many parents who have had kids and it's a hard name. My daughter has a difficult name, but I can't tell you just the discrimination that she has received just because people can't pronounce her name.
Yeah, it's a hard life. Me and my sisters all have difficult names, and they're all Arabic. And
so is my daughter's of origin. Yeah, and they won't do it.
The funny thing is that I'll get condescending white people on Twitter when I talk about racism, and they want to tell me, their view. So their little condescending microaggression is to write my name out, like I'm threatened by my name.
Right.
It's my name. I've lived with it 46 years. Are you threatened by it?
So when we see the Oscars happening and Daniel Kaluuya winning, and I hope I pronounced it right, correct me if I'm wrong, these are really important steps for us. People do not need to have to, this young kid who just got drafted in the NFL, I think his name is Kinti or something. His mother's Liberian. A beautiful story. If you get a chance to look at the draft of how that is, we can talk about it next week. But I want to know people's names. I'm inquisitive. I want to be able to say it and show you the respect. But that goes back to, is America a racist country? It's lazy. It's lazy, and it's become less curious about people. It's become less embracing. And that can make you not only racist, but ignorant as hell.
But in the 1970s, there's a reason why Nimrod did not want to be Nikki. Wanted to be Nikki. So
what? Yeah, right.
Well, I think we are done another epic conversation called Staggers Date of Things with special guest Jill Jones. As usual, the ladies hit it out the park, but the audience tonight, what? Fire, Black Beauty, Real Django, Chris,
Cinnamon
Canela, Black Beauty.
They were hitting it
you were Christina. Thank you so much for helping make this an epic conversation. And Real Dango, lazy. And Chris saying, Dr. Vibe, Aisha, Jill, thank you again for a terrific convo. Have a great week ahead. God bless, and all the very best to you. Right back to you, Chris. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. As usual, before we let them go and maybe go on Twitter, who knows? Because, they always probably have messages waiting for them on Twitter. We asked them to tell us how they can be reached. So first off, Jill Jones.
I can be reached at Jill D. Jones at Twitter, and Facebook is Jill Jones Music.
Got it. Next up, Aisha K. Staggers.
At Aisha Staggers. It's written below because it's a difficult name.
Oh my gosh.
And I'll say only that because Facebook, it gets even more difficult because then you have to get the spelling of my middle name. So I'll be on Twitter.
All right. Good stuff. It is Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Also, again, I host the only online show in the world for dads and fathers that is sponsored by Dove Men Care. And also co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. Board chair for the Global Food and Drink Initiative, which is a multimedia not-for-profit that's mission is to highlight Blacks in the diaspora that are doing their thing in food, wine, and travel. Again, thanks everyone for watching it live tonight. I think we got a few more late comments coming in, so I don't want to leave them out. If I can, Cinema Canela goes, thanks guys, have a safe week. And Real Django's putting claps, 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 applause, applause, applause. Thank you so much to everybody. Hope you can listen to the replay of this either via video or via audio. It's appreciated, not taken for granted. As always, I like to close out my conversations like this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smarter to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace. God bless. Peace well. Keep the faith. And see you next week. Have a good one. Keep safe. Bye, everybody.